After getting emergency treatment and waking up, my daughter whispered to me, "Dad, Aunt Elena gave me the cookie. She told me not to tell you." Those words from my 6-year-old daughter left me speechless. I realized my sister was involved in my daughter ending up in the ER because of a peanut allergy. That's when I decided I had to find out the truth. But what surprised me after that was the real reason behind my sister's cruel actions. Before I get into the details of this story, thank you for choosing to listen to us today. I wish you a peaceful day. And don't forget to give me a like if you want to wish me good things too. Hello everyone. I'm David Thompson, 38 years old. I own a small coffee shop in Boston. I'm a single dad, living with my little daughter named Anna. Our family drama happened in August 2023, when Anna was 6 years old. That day was a weekend. That morning, I took Anna to my parents' house and asked them to watch her for a few hours. The reason was that I had to attend a close friend's funeral, and I didn't want my daughter to be there. Around 1 p.m. that day, I came back to my parents' house from the funeral. When I arrived at my parents' house, Elena's car was also parked there. I felt a bit annoyed, but I didn't think much of it. I walked into the house and saw Elena sitting in the living room, scrolling on her phone. When she saw me, she looked up, her eyes cold and distant, as if she were looking at a stranger. She didn't say hello, just cold silence. Anna ran over and hugged me as soon as she saw me, her voice cheerfully calling out, "Dad, you're back." I hugged her tightly, breathing in the sweet scent of her hair, and felt all the tiredness from the day disappear. After that, I thanked my parents for watching Anna for me, then took her to the car. Right as we stepped out the door, Elena suddenly spoke up, her voice cold as she reminded me, "Remember to be at my place at 5 for Lily's birthday." I nodded, didn't say anything else. That day was Lily's 5th birthday, Elena's daughter. Elena had invited Anna and me to the party a few days before. I planned to take Anna to the party around 4:30. When we got home, I had some work to finish. I opened my laptop and started working in my office, while Anna went to her room to draw. She loved drawing, especially pictures of our family with Dad, Mom in heaven, and her on earth. About an hour later, I suddenly heard strange sounds from Anna's room. It was the sound of choking, dry coughing, and wheezing. My heart stopped for a moment. I rushed out of my office and ran straight to Anna's room. The scene before me left me speechless. Anna was lying on the floor, her face bright red, her lips starting to swell, and she was trying to breathe but couldn't. Her eyes were wide open, full of fear, looking at me like she was begging for help. Right away, I recognized these as symptoms of a peanut allergy. Anna has had a severe peanut allergy since she was little. The doctor had warned that if she ate peanuts, the allergic reaction could be life-threatening. Seeing my daughter's condition, my hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone to call 911. My voice was choked as I told the operator, "My daughter, 6 years old, has a severe peanut allergy. She can't breathe. Please come right away." While waiting for the ambulance, I followed the 911 operator's instructions. I laid Anna in a comfortable position, loosened her clothes, and did my best to keep her conscious. I talked to her, held her hand tight, and kept repeating that everything would be okay and the ambulance was coming soon. Almost 10 minutes later, the ambulance siren wailed outside. The medical team rushed into the house, quickly checked Anna's condition, and started first aid. They gave her an epinephrine shot and put an oxygen mask over her face. Then they put Anna in the ambulance and drove straight to the hospital. I sat next to her the whole way, holding her hand tight, my eyes never leaving her little face that was pale from lack of oxygen. When we got to the hospital, Anna was taken straight to the emergency room. I sat outside, constantly clasping my hands together, praying to God to protect Anna, begging Rachel's soul in heaven to watch over Anna. My wife, Rachel, passed away in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. She was a nurse working on the front lines fighting the virus. She saved so many lives, but in the end, couldn't save herself. The day she left us, Anna was only 3 years old. She was too young to understand why Mommy wasn't coming home anymore. After my wife died, I promised myself I'd protect her at any cost. Anna is all I have left of Rachel, the only reason for me to keep living. Standing in the cold hospital hallway, I couldn't stop blaming myself for letting my 6-year-old daughter end up in the ER. At that time, I had no idea that the danger behind my daughter was a plot by my own family. While waiting, I decided it was best to inform my family about Anna's condition. I believed that after hearing Anna was in the ER, my mom and dad would immediately come to be with my daughter. With that belief, I took out my phone and sent a message to our family group chat. It was a group with my parents and Elena. I typed each word with shaking hands. Anna's in the ER, situation is terrible. The message was sent. Just 3 minutes later, I saw in the group chat that all 3 of them had read my message. But no one replied, no message asking how she was. I just wanted to let you know that there will be no phone call. Nothing at all. At that moment, I tried to think positively. They may be on their way to the hospital. Perhaps they're so worried they can't reply to messages. Maybe they'll arrive at any moment. An hour passed. The ER door opened, and a doctor walked out. I rushed over like a madman, my voice hoarse as I asked the doctor, "How's my daughter? Is Anna okay?" The doctor looked at me, his eyes carrying reassurance. Then he spoke calmly. "Your little girl is out of danger. We've controlled the allergic reaction. She's sleeping now from the medication, but her condition is stable." Hearing those words, I leaned against the wall, feeling like I just lifted a 1,000-pound boulder off my chest. Tears rolled down my face, but they were tears of relief. A few seconds later, the doctor continued speaking to me in a serious tone. "According to protocol, we've reported this incident to the police and Child Protective Services. This is a serious case involving a child, and we need to find out what caused this." I nodded, understanding it was a necessary procedure. But all that was spinning in my head at that moment was one question. What did Anna eat? When did she eat it that caused the peanut allergy? I knew there were no peanut products in my house. Ever since Anna was diagnosed with the allergy, I've eliminated peanuts and related products from our home. I checked the ingredients on everything before buying. I'd done everything I could to protect her. So where did the peanuts come from? That question kept appearing in my thoughts. About 30 minutes later, 2 police officers came to the hospital to take my statement. I told them everything that happened that day. Taking Anna to my parents' house in the morning, going to the funeral, picking Anna up and bringing her home, and finding her having an allergic reaction. One of the 2 officers, after listening, looked at me and asked, "Do you know when your daughter ate the peanuts?" Hearing that question, I thought for a few seconds, trying to remember what happened. Then I shook my head, my voice full of helplessness as I answered, "I don't know. I don't understand where the peanuts came from. There are no peanuts in my house." The officer nodded, wrote in his notebook, then told me we'll need to talk to your little girl when she wakes up. For now, stay by your daughter's side. After that reminder, they quickly left to carry out other duties. After the police left, I was allowed into Anna's hospital room. My daughter was lying on the bed, her little face pale, her lips still a bit swollen. I pulled a chair next to the bed, took my daughter's small hand. Her warm little hand in mine was proof that she was still alive, still here with me. Sitting in the quiet hospital room, I began to blame myself if I weren't so obsessed with work. Suppose I spent time with her instead of sitting in front of the computer if I paid more attention. I may have noticed sooner. I could have prevented this. Guilty thoughts kept spiraling deeper in my mind like a whirlpool with no way out. After being successfully treated, Anna slept deeply because she was so exhausted. I sat next to her, my eyes never leaving my daughter's face. Around 6 p.m. while waiting, I unconsciously took out my phone and scrolled through social media. It's a bad habit I still haven't been able to break. What I saw left me unable to believe my eyes. On Elena's personal page, a selfie had just been posted. In the photo, the whole family was smiling happily next to Lily's birthday cake. My parents stood on both sides, beaming with joy. Elena was holding Lily, her eyes shining with happiness. Elena's husband stood behind them, one hand on his wife's shoulder. They were at the birthday party. They were laughing and having fun. In comparison, my daughter had almost died and was lying in the hospital. I scrolled down and saw many more photos. Photos of Lily blowing out candles. Pictures of the whole family raising their glasses in celebration. Pictures of my parents hugging Lily with the caption, "Our beloved granddaughter." The blood in my body felt like it was boiling when I looked at those photos. And that's when I realized the true face of the people in my family. They had read my message. They knew Anna was in the ER. They knew the situation was terrible. However, they continued the party as if nothing had happened. They were still laughing, still posting photos, still enjoying themselves while their granddaughter was fighting death. My hands shook with anger as I typed a message into the family group chat. I couldn't stay calm anymore. I cursed at them, asking if they were still human, and inquired where they had left their conscience. A few minutes later, a reply message appeared. It was from my mom. She wrote, "There are doctors taking care of it. Don't overreact." Right after that, Elena also messaged, "It's just an allergy. She won't die from it." Reading those messages, I felt like cold water had been splashed on my face. My throat tightened. They saw my daughter almost dying as just a small matter, not worth worrying about. Right after that, I immediately called them. Called Dad, no one answered. Called Mom, no one answered. Called Elena, no one answered. They were deliberately ignoring me. After all those unsuccessful calls, tears ran down my face, but not from sadness, but from anger, from disappointment, from realizing that in their eyes, Anna and I had never mattered. At that moment, I understood that blood doesn't mean family. People who carry the name of family can be more cruel than strangers. Around 7 p.m., when I was still sitting by Anna's bed, my phone suddenly rang. The caller was my grandpa, Robert. My grandpa was 82 years old that year. He was a strict but loving man. He lived alone in the suburbs, in the house he'd built with Grandma before she passed away. As soon as I picked up, his voice came through the line, full of worry as he asked me, "David, why didn't you bring Anna to Lily's birthday party? Did something happen?" Hearing his voice, I just broke down. Right away, I told him about Anna having to go to the ER. Grandpa just answered briefly, "I'm coming right now." After that short statement, Grandpa hung up. An hour later, Grandpa appeared at the hospital room door. He walked over to the bed, gently stroked Anna's hair, then turned to look at me and asked, "Have you told your parents yet?" After Grandpa's question, I took out my phone, showed him the message I'd sent to the family group, and the cold responses I'd received. When he finished reading, his face darkened. His hands clenched into fists. I'd never seen him so angry. He said to me, "I'll get justice for you and Anna. Just trust me." That night, Grandpa stayed at the hospital with me until almost 10 p.m. He sat by Anna's bed, occasionally looking at Anna with pained eyes. Before leaving, he told me to take good care of Anna, and he'd handle everything else. After he left, I sat alone in the hospital room, watching my daughter sleep peacefully. Outside the window, darkness covered the city. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew that from now on, nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, around 7 a.m., Grandpa was already at the hospital. He brought coffee and sandwiches for me, told me I had to eat something to have the strength to take care of Anna. Around 8 a.m., Anna started waking up. Her eyes slowly opened, her gaze still dreamy and distant. When she realized I was sitting next to her, she tried to give a weak smile. I leaned down, kissed her forehead. My voice choked as I whispered, "Are you feeling better? I'm here." Anna nodded, her little hand grabbed mine, as if afraid that if she let go, I would disappear. After Anna woke up, the doctor entered the room to assess her condition. After the examination, he nodded and said Anna was recovering well, but needed to stay in the hospital a few more days for observation. Hearing that good news, I felt a sense of relief. Around 9 a.m., police and Child Protective Services arrived. They needed to get information from Anna to clarify what happened. Anna looked at me, then looked at the strangers in the room. She seemed worried, but finally nodded. The CPS worker was a middle-aged woman with a gentle voice. She asked Anna simple questions about what happened the day before. And then, Anna turned to me, her eyes full of worry, as if she were afraid she had done something wrong. She squeezed my hand tight and whispered, "Dad, Aunt Elena gave me the cookie. She told me not to tell you." Hearing those words, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. Elena, my sister, she had given Anna a cookie. She told Anna to keep it a secret. All the pieces started coming together in my head. The cookie. Elena was at my parents' house that morning. She knew Anna was allergic to peanuts. I'd reminded the family about this many times. Every time we had family gatherings, I always emphasized that Anna couldn't eat anything containing peanuts. And she still gave Anna a cookie, told her not to say to me. At that moment, I tried to stay calm, even though I was boiling inside. I gently asked my daughter, "Can you tell me more details? When did Aunt Elena give you the cookie?" After I asked my question, Anna began telling the story. That morning, when I took her to Grandma and Grandpa's house and went to the funeral, Elena was there too. Around 10 a.m., Elena went out for a while and then returned. When she returned, she called Anna aside and gave her a bag of cookies. Elena said it was a treat for being good. Elena told her not to tell me, because it was a secret between them. She had kept that secret. When we got home, while I was working, Anna took out the cookies and ate them. Just about 30 minutes later, she started having trouble breathing. Hearing Anna's story, I couldn't control myself anymore. I jumped up, my voice roaring. That cookie definitely had a problem. I have to find Elena and give her what she deserves. The police immediately stepped forward. One of them held up his hand, signaling me to calm down, and warned, "Mr. Thompson, I understand you're outraged, but please don't do anything stupid. If you use violence, you'll be the one in legal trouble." After being advised by the police, I shouted, my voice full of rage, "But she tried to hurt my daughter. I can't just let this go." As soon as I finished speaking, the officer repeated his warning, his voice stern but still calm. "I understand, but please let us do our job. We promise to investigate this incident thoroughly." The CPS worker also spoke up then, her voice gentle but heavy as she advised me, "Mr. Thompson, I know you're in pain, but please think about Anna. She's already lost her mother. She can't lose her father, too. If you use violence and go to jail, who's going to take care of her?" Those words were like cold water poured over my head. I looked down at Anna, and she was looking at me with frightened eyes. She'd seen her dad lose control. I took a deep breath and tried to calm down. I couldn't let anger lead me. Anna needed me. She was priority number one. Grandpa then stepped forward, put his hand on my shoulder, his voice deep and warm but firm. "David, stay calm. I'll be the one to handle this. You need to take care of Anna." I nodded, agreed not to use violence against Elena, even though inside me, the anger was still burning. Anna stayed in the hospital for 2 more days for observation. During those 2 days, I didn't leave the hospital once. I slept on the chair next to her bed, ate quick meals from the hospital cafeteria, and spent every minute by my daughter's side. During that time, the police conducted their investigation. They collected evidence, took statements from people who were at my parents' house that morning, and tested the cookies Anna had eaten. Elena had given Anna 3 cookies. My daughter had only eaten 1. The other 2 cookies were still at my house. I went home to get them and gave them to the police. The results showed that the 2 cookies Anna hadn't eaten yet contained peanuts, and Elena had admitted to buying and giving the cookies to Anna. She was arrested and held for questioning. On Anna's second day in the hospital, my parents showed up, but they didn't come to visit Anna. That day, I was sitting by my daughter's bed when I heard footsteps in the hallway. The hospital room door opened, and my parents walked in. Their faces showed no worry or regret. Instead, they looked at me with angry, accusing eyes. Dad didn't bother looking at Anna. He stared straight at me and demanded, "What did you do? You called the police on your own sister?" After that question, I stood up, pulled them out of Anna's room so she wouldn't have to hear the argument. Out in the hallway, my voice cold as I replied, "Elena deliberately gave Anna something she knew would make her allergic. She almost killed my daughter." Mom immediately jumped in, her voice shrill, defending Elena. "It wasn't on purpose. Elena just made a mistake. She didn't know the cookie had peanuts." I looked at her, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My voice rose with anger as I asked Mom, "A mistake?" Elena went out to buy cookies, gave them to Anna, and told her not to tell me. "That's a mistake?" Dad brushed off my reasoning. He yelled, "Elena is your sister. You can't put your own sister in jail." I shot back, "What about Anna? Anna is your granddaughter. When she almost died, where were you? You were taking selfies at the birthday party." Dad was quiet for a moment, but then he continued, his voice full of bitterness. "Anna just had an allergic reaction. She didn't die. You're overreacting. But Elena is locked up. You're ruining your sister's life." Hearing those words, my heart felt like salt was being rubbed in a wound. In their eyes, Anna's safety didn't matter as much as Elena's freedom. A few seconds later, I looked straight into Dad's eyes, my voice shaking with rage. You've already chosen sides, so don't blame me for protecting my daughter. Mom stepped forward, her finger pointing straight at my face, her voice full of venom as she accused me. You betrayed the family. You're an ungrateful son. I didn't back down. My voice rang out in response. You don't care about your granddaughter at all. That's the truth. At this point, my 82-year-old grandpa stepped out. He looked at my parents, his eyes full of disappointment. His voice dropped low but carried the weight of a lifetime as he spoke. What are you doing here? Anna's in the hospital, and you come here to fight? Dad turned to Grandpa and argued back. Dad, David is hurting Elena. You have to tell him to drop the charges. Grandpa shook his head, his eyes looking at Dad like he was looking at a stranger. His voice was stern as he demanded, I want you to apologize to David and Anna. Right now. Mom screamed, her voice full of rage as she refused. Apologize? Why should we apologize? David's the wrong one. Dad also spoke up, his voice hard as he declared, You're playing favorites with David. You always favor him. If you keep this up, we'll disown you. Grandpa stood there, looking at the son he'd raised for so many years. A flash of pain crossed his aged eyes. But then he took a deep breath, his voice still calm as he replied, If you want to disown me, then do what you want. But I won't let you hurt Anna. Then he turned to me, his voice gentle but full of determination. David, just trust me. As soon as the police conclude Elena is guilty, I have a plan for what's next. I nodded, my heart full of gratitude for him. My parents left after that. Not a word of goodbye. They didn't even bother to look at Anna once before walking out of the room. After 2 days of investigation, Elena confessed the whole truth to the police. She admitted she had deliberately gone out to buy cookies containing peanuts and gave them to Anna. She also revealed that she had told Anna to keep it a secret, not to say anything to me. However, when asked about the purpose of this action, Elena didn't answer. The case file was transferred to the prosecutor's office, and the prosecutor's office decided to press charges for intentional injury to a child. When I got this news, I felt relieved. Justice was finally being served. Elena would have to pay for what she'd done, but my parents didn't think so. That very day, my mom called me. I hesitated for a while, then decided to pick up, wanting to see if she had anything to say. My mom's voice came through the line, full of rage and bitterness. Your sister's going to prison. Are you happy now? I didn't hesitate to reply, very happy. And it'd be even better if both you and Dad went to prison too. You don't deserve to be my parents. And you don't deserve to be my daughter's grandparents. Hearing what I said, Mom screamed. How dare you talk to your mother like that? You ungrateful brat. I coldly replied, Sorry, but you're not my mother. After saying that, I hung up. Mom and Dad called back a few more times, but I didn't answer. I blocked their numbers. From that moment, I knew the relationship between them and me was over. There was nothing left to hold on to. 2 weeks later, the criminal trial took place. Because the case involved a child and was of a serious nature, the court decided to handle it promptly. That day, I sent Anna to the neighbor's house. I didn't want her to witness this trial. When I got to the courthouse, my 82-year-old grandpa was already there. With him were a few close relatives, people who truly cared about Anna and me. On my parents' side, there was also a group of relatives to support them. I recognized them as people who always sucked up to my parents for personal gain. My parents had hired a good lawyer for Elena. This lawyer was renowned for his exceptional defense skills and had won numerous challenging cases. At that day's trial, after the prosecutor and defense attorney's presentations, the judge looked sternly at Elena and asked, Elena, can you explain why you gave Anna a cookie containing peanuts, even though you knew Anna was severely allergic to peanuts? Elena was silent for quite a while. The entire courtroom was filled with tense waiting. Finally, she raised her head, looked straight at the judge, and answered, I did it because I didn't want Anna and my brother to attend my daughter's birthday party. The judge frowned and continued asking, Why didn't you want them to attend? Elena took a breath, her voice full of bitterness as she explained, Because every time Anna shows up, all the attention goes to her. Anna lost her mother, so everyone feels sorry for her, and everyone cares about her. But my daughter gets forgotten. I just wanted my daughter to have a birthday where she was the center of attention. The entire courtroom seemed to freeze for a moment. I sat there, couldn't believe what I'd just heard. Elena had done that out of jealousy because she was jealous of a 6-year-old motherless child. I sat there, my hands gripping the chair tightly. My sister, someone I'd shared my childhood with, had hurt my daughter just because she was jealous of the attention an orphan child received. Elena's defense lawyer was excellent. He argued that Elena's mental state was unstable. She was under tremendous pressure from being a mother and working. He also emphasized that Anna had been rescued in time, with no life-threatening danger and no serious lasting effects. After considering all the evidence and testimony, the judge delivered the verdict. Elena was sentenced to 2 years in prison. As soon as I heard the sentence, I jumped up, my voice ringing with rage. "Judge, you're not serious, right? 2 years in prison. If my daughter hadn't been rescued in time, she probably would have died." The judge banged the gavel and demanded I keep order. He explained that the sentence was based entirely on clear legal grounds and mitigating circumstances. At this point, Grandpa pulled my hand down to sit, his voice quiet but full of determination. "Don't make a scene. I'll get justice for you." Hearing what Grandpa said, I tried to control my anger. I trusted Grandpa. He'd have a way. In addition to the prison sentence for Elena, the judge also issued a restraining order. Elena couldn't have contact with Anna after getting out of prison. My mom and dad also received restraining orders until Anna turned 18. Additionally, Elena had to pay Anna $80,000 in damages. Though somewhat disappointed with the sentence, I had to accept it. At least Elena had to pay for her actions. When leaving the trial, I walked past my parents. They stood there, looking at me with eyes full of hatred. Dad opened his mouth, his voice full of bitterness. "Are you satisfied now? You successfully put your sister in prison. You're not my son." I stopped, looked straight into his eyes, and replied, "I still want to put you and Mom in prison. Life sentence." After saying that, I quietly left, leaving them standing there. 3 days after the trial, just as he had promised, Grandpa called a family meeting. It was a meeting about redistributing assets. That day, my parents were present. My uncles and aunts were also invited. Grandpa wanted everyone to witness his decision. I brought Anna with me. She didn't understand what was happening, but I wanted her by my side. After everyone was present, Grandpa announced that he would take back the house where my parents were living. After hearing the decision, Dad jumped up and yelled, "Dad, you can't do this. That's our house." Grandpa shook his head, his voice unwavering. "It was never your house. I just let you live there. The ownership papers still have my name, and now I'm taking it back." Mom also stood up, her voice shrill. "You're doing this because of David, aren't you? You want to punish us?" After that question, Grandpa looked at Mom, his eyes full of disappointment. He continued speaking to Mom. "I've removed both of your names from my will. From now on, you won't inherit anything." As soon as Grandpa finished speaking, Dad angrily rushed toward Grandpa, but my uncles and aunts managed to hold him back. Dad screamed, "You crazy old man, you don't have the right to do this." Seeing Dad's attitude, Grandpa stepped in front of him. His voice rang out, "I have every right. This is my property, and I'll give it to whoever I want." At this point, my parents turned to Anna and me. Their faces were twisted with anger. Mom pointed straight at Anna and screamed, "It's all because of you. You ruined my family." Hearing those words, Anna fearfully hid behind me. I stepped forward, stood in front of my daughter, and replied, "Don't blame my daughter." Grandpa also stepped forward, his voice ringing with authority. "Get out of here right now. If not, I'll call the police." My parents looked at Grandpa, then at me, then at Anna. Finally, they left, not a word of goodbye. 2 years have passed since the day Grandpa announced the new will. Our lives have completely changed. The house where my parents used to live now belongs to Anna and me. But we don't live there. That house holds too many unhappy memories, too much pain. I decided to rent it out and use that money to invest in Anna's future. I opened a small coffee shop, where I can work while taking care of my daughter. Anna goes to a new school, makes new friends, and gradually forgets the painful memories. Grandpa is now 84 years old. His health is still good, although not as robust as it was before. I still often take Anna to visit him on weekends. Every time she sees him, Anna happily tells him about school, about friends, about the pictures she draws. My parents moved to another state after losing their inheritance rights. No one in the family wants to contact them anymore. They isolated themselves through their selfishness and cruelty. Elena was released from prison after serving a 2-year sentence. I don't know how she's living, and I don't want to know. The restraining order is still in effect, and I'll make sure she never gets near Anna. Through my story, I've learned many lessons, and I have some advice for you. First, if your child has a history of allergies, always be vigilant and supervise them closely. Allergies can be life-threatening within minutes. Never be careless. Second, violence doesn't solve problems. Even though I really wanted to use my fists on Elena, if I had done that, I would have been the one going to jail, and I would have lost custody of Anna. Let the law handle it. Third, don't be afraid to cut off toxic relationships, even if it's parents, siblings, or anyone else. Your mental health and your children's mental health are more important than what people think. Final advice. Cherish the people who genuinely care about you. My grandpa, even at 82 years old, still stood up to protect me. He stood by my side when the whole world turned its back. That's real family. When I told this story, some people criticized me. They said I was too weak. They said if they were me, they would have put my sister in the hospital, and they wouldn't need to rely on the law. What do you think about this viewpoint? And if you were me, would you let the law handle the person who hurt your child, or would you use violence to solve the problem? Please share your thoughts in the comments below this story. And if you found this story meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to support us. Thank you for following this long story. Around 8 p.m., while the Christmas party was going on cheerfully at my parents' house, I got a call from Thomas, my parents' neighbor. I just picked up when Thomas said urgently, "Brian, I've been seeing your daughter sitting on your parents' porch for a really long time now. Is she being punished or something?" What Thomas said left me speechless. I quickly asked back, "That can't be right. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" After a few seconds of hesitation, Thomas replied, "Let's do a video call. I'll show you." And then, as soon as the video call connected, what I saw left me completely speechless. My 10-year-old daughter was sitting huddled on the porch, wearing nothing but a thin jacket. And what happened after that tore my family apart. Before I begin this story, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to read my story today. I hope you have a peaceful and happy day. Give me a like if you want to wish me good things too. Hello everyone, I'm Brian, a 45-year-old emergency room doctor at a hospital in Chicago. Currently, I'm living with my daughter, Riley, and my wife, Mia. Mia and I have only been married for 3 years. Previously, I had a happy marriage with Sophia, and Riley is our daughter. But then, in 2018, Sophia passed away from a serious illness. Riley was only 6 years old at the time. I still remember the day Sophia closed her eyes clearly. I stood by her hospital bed, holding tight to her hand that was growing cold, while Riley sat quietly in the corner of the room, her eyes red but with no more tears left to cry. That night, I promised myself I'd never love anyone else again. Never marry anyone else. Sophia was the only woman in my heart. However, life rarely goes according to plan. 3 years after Sophia died, Mia came into my life entirely by chance. She was a nurse in the emergency department where I work. First, we were just regular co-workers. Then gradually, those short conversations during night shifts got longer. Those shared cups of coffee at 3 in the morning became more frequent. And then one day, I realized I'd fallen in love with her without even knowing when it happened. Before, Riley was completely against Mia and me being together. My daughter hated Mia. She'd look at Mia with cold eyes every time she walked into our house. She refused to eat anything Mia cooked. She'd slam her bedroom door whenever Mia tried to start a conversation. I understood Riley. She still remembered her birth mother, still hurt from such a huge loss. In Mia's eyes, she was an intruder, someone trying to replace Sophia's place in the family. However, something heartbreaking happened 2 years ago, during Christmas 2023, that inadvertently helped Riley see Mia in a different light. Since then, my daughter no longer hates Mia. She no longer calls Mia stepmother, as she did before, and she also refrains from addressing Mia by her name coldly. Now, Riley calls Mia mom, the same way she used to call Sophia. Our current life is very peaceful and happy. However, to achieve this peace, I had to pay a very high price. That was cutting off all relationships with the people I used to call dad, mom, and little sister. I don't want to hate them or thank them for it. They oppressed my daughter. But it was also because of that cruelty that Riley saw Mia's true heart and accepted her love. But no matter what, I still can't overlook what they did. The memory of that horrible Christmas day is still burned deep in my mind, like a scar that will never heal. The story I'm sharing today took place during Christmas 2023. And for you to understand the story better, I have to tell you about what happened when my daughter kicked my wife out of the house 2 weeks before that. That evening, around 8 o'clock, I was on my shift when my phone rang. Mia's name showed up on the screen. I picked up, and immediately, her sobbing voice reached my ears. Through her choked sobs, Mia told me about how Riley had kicked her out of the house. Riley was only 10 years old at the time, but the words she said cut deeper than knives. Mia's voice was shaking as she recounted every detail. The little girl had stood in front of her, eyes red with anger, and screamed that she would never call Mia mom for the rest of her life. Riley said Mia had stolen her dad. Riley told Mia to get out. Riley compared Mia to Sophia, saying that Mia would never be worthy of replacing her birth mother. Hearing what Mia told me, my heart felt like it was being squeezed tight. I tried to keep my voice calm, gently saying to Mia over the phone, "Just calm down. Riley's still young. She doesn't understand yet. I'll talk to her." After I tried to comfort her, Mia cried even more. She said to me, "Brian, I've been trying for a whole year now. I've endured so much. I need time to calm down. I'm leaving tomorrow morning." Those words terrified me. I quickly said, "Mia, don't make any hasty decisions. Just get some rest. I'll come home and talk to Riley. She'll accept you eventually." Mia didn't answer me. She just sighed softly and hung up. That night, I couldn't focus on work. My mind kept spinning with images of Mia crying and the words Riley had said. I asked myself what I'd done wrong. I tried to balance my love for Mia and my love for Riley, but it seemed like I'd failed at both. The next morning, I got home at 6:05 a.m. The house was tranquil. I called Mia's name but got no answer. My heart sank when I realized she'd really left. I checked the security camera. The footage showed Mia leaving the house at 6 a.m., just 5 minutes before I arrived home. She was pulling a small suitcase as she walked in the dim light of a winter dawn. Her back looked so lonely and tired that it broke my heart. I quickly called Mia. She picked up after the 5th ring. Mia's voice was calmer than the night before, but still had a trace of exhaustion when she said to me, "Brian, I'm going somewhere to rest. When I'm completely okay, I'll come back. During this time, don't contact me unless it's urgent." I wanted to say something more, but Mia had already hung up. After the call, I sat dazed on the sofa, looking around the empty living room. I didn't know how to make Mia and Riley understand each other. The two most important women in my life, my wife and my daughter, couldn't live together peacefully. After Mia left, I went up to Riley's room. She was sitting on her bed, hugging a pillow, looking out the window with a stubborn expression. I sat down on the edge of the bed, trying to keep my voice gentle as I asked her, "Riley, can you explain to me what happened last night?" After I asked, Riley turned to look at me, her eyes still red. She wasn't crying, but I could see the anger and hurt in those eyes. My daughter bit her lip for a few seconds, then answered in a stubborn voice, "I didn't do anything wrong. Mia isn't my mom. She has no right to be in this house." Hearing what my daughter said, I sighed, trying to explain. "Riley, Mia is my wife patiently. She loves you. She's tried so hard to..." Riley didn't let me finish. She cut me off with a sharp voice. "She doesn't love me. She wants to replace mom. But no one can replace mom. No one." Hearing her say that, my heart ached like someone was squeezing it tight. I understood Riley's pain. She lost her mother when she was only 6. The memories of Sophia were still clear in her mind. And now, seeing another woman step into my life, she felt like she was being betrayed. I reached out to take Riley's hand, but she pulled away. That brief distance made my heart ache. After a few minutes of silence, I gently said to her, "Riley, I understand you miss Mom. I miss your mom a lot, too. But Mom's gone and I need someone by my side. Mia isn't replacing your mom. She's just a different person. Someone who also loves you in her own way. Riley didn't respond. She just turned away, continuing to look out the window. Her silence said everything. She wouldn't accept what I was saying. I sat there a little longer, hoping Riley would say something else. But she stayed silent, stubborn like a wall that couldn't be broken through. Finally, I had to get up and leave the room. I tried my best, but Riley wouldn't admit she was wrong. She still believed she was right. Walking down the stairs, I felt more helpless than ever. I didn't know how to heal the relationship between Mia and Riley. Maybe I just had to let everything follow fate's plan. At that time, I had no idea that in just 2 weeks, Riley would face cruelty from my family, and that cruelty would change everything. The following 2 weeks passed in a state of tension and worry. Every day, I'd text Mia, asking how she was doing, when she'd come home. Sometimes I'd call, hoping to hear her voice, but Mia still wouldn't agree to come back. She said she needed more time to think about everything. On the days I worked night shifts, taking care of Riley became a huge problem. Before, Mia was always home with her when I went to work. Now I had no one to rely on. I had no choice but to bring Riley to the hospital and let her sleep in the doctor's break room. Those nights, I'd often check on her between emergency cases, watching her sleep curled up on that little sofa, my heart full of guilt. Then Christmas came. That day I had a night shift. First, I planned to bring Riley with me to work like the other days. But then I thought again. It was Christmas, an important holiday. I wanted her to have a warm dinner with Grandpa, Grandma, and Aunt Daisy, my sister. I didn't want her to be curled up in the doctor's break room on Christmas night. And that was the worst decision of my life. Around 5 p.m., I drove Riley to my parents' house. She sat silent the whole way, not saying a word. I knew she was still angry about the Mia situation, but I hoped the Christmas atmosphere would cheer her up. When we got there, Daisy's car was already parked neatly in the yard. Through the window, I saw warm lights from inside the house and smelled delicious food. Everything looked so peaceful and happy. I led Riley into the house, exchanged a few words with Mom, Dad, and Daisy. My mom hugged Riley and asked her a few questions. My dad nodded at me with his usual cold demeanor. Daisy was busy in the kitchen, just glanced at me once, then turned away. I ignored their strange attitude. I just thought they were busy preparing for the party. I told Riley to be good, then hurried off to make it to my shift on time. At that time, I had no idea that in just a few hours, they would oppress my 10-year-old daughter. Around 8 p.m., I was checking on a patient's condition in the emergency room when my phone rang. I looked at the screen and saw Thomas's name, my parents' neighbor. An uneasy feeling flashed through me. Thomas rarely called me unless something important was happening. I asked my colleague for permission and stepped into the hallway, pressing the answer button. As soon as the call connected, Thomas's voice came through urgently. "Brian, I've been seeing your daughter sitting on your parents' porch for a really long time now. Is she being punished or something?" What Thomas said left me speechless. I quickly asked back, my voice shaking, "That can't be right. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" After a few seconds of silence, Thomas replied with certainty, "Let's do a video call. I'll show you." I quickly switched to a video call, and as soon as the image appeared on my screen, what I saw made me want to collapse. My 10-year-old daughter was sitting huddled on the porch, wearing nothing but a thin jacket. Chicago in December was cold, temperatures below zero, and my daughter was sitting there, alone in the darkness. After what I saw before my eyes, I cried out, my voice choking, "Oh my God, Riley, my daughter." Then Thomas asked, his voice worried, "Aren't you at the party?" I quickly replied, "No, Thomas. I have a shift today." Right after my answer, Thomas was quiet for a few seconds, then asked, "I see. Do you need me to help with anything?" I thought for a few seconds, then replied, my voice urgent, "Please help me get Riley to your house. I'll call 911. Without hesitation, Thomas answered immediately, "Okay, I'll take the kid to my house." I quickly thanked Thomas and hung up. Rage surged through me like a volcano about to erupt. My hands were shaking when I thought about what my parents and Daisy had done to my daughter. However, I couldn't leave my emergency shift to return. In the emergency room, some patients required my attention. I was a doctor, and my responsibility was to save lives. Right after ending the call with Thomas, I dialed 911 and reported Riley's situation to them. The operator confirmed that police and an ambulance would go to my parents' house immediately. After the 911 call, I called Mia. She picked up after the second ring. Without any greeting, I said to her immediately, my voice urgent, "Mia, Riley was locked outside by my family. Right now, Riley's been taken to neighbor Thomas's house. Can you please help me go check on Riley's condition?" As soon as I finished speaking, Mia almost screamed through the phone. "Oh my God, they dared to lock her outside? I'll go right away. I'm nearby. I'll be there in 5 minutes." Then she hung up without waiting for me to say anything else. That's Mia for you. Even though she was furious at Riley for what she had said and done, the moment she heard Riley was in danger, she rushed to my daughter's side. In that moment, I realized I'd chosen the right person to spend my life with. 5 minutes later, Mia called me back on video call. On the screen, I saw Riley sitting in Thomas's living room, wrapped in a thick blanket. My daughter was still shivering, her lips pale, but at least she was in a warm place. Through the video call, Riley told me everything that had happened. Around 6 p.m., when everyone was getting ready for dinner, Daisy suddenly walked over to Riley. Without saying a word, she grabbed her wrist and dragged her outside to the porch. Riley told me, her voice still shaking from cold and fear. She said to me, "I begged Aunt Daisy not to do that, but she wouldn't listen. She just kept dragging me outside." Hearing her say this, I gripped my phone tighter, trying to hold back my rage. A few seconds later, Riley continued her story. When the two of them were standing on the porch, Daisy looked at her with cold eyes and said, "This party is for family. You and your dad aren't our family anymore." Those words were like knives stabbing straight into my heart. Then Riley had asked Daisy, her voice confused, "Why are you saying that?" And Daisy had answered in a voice cold as ice, "Go home and ask your dad. Your dad's the one who refused to help us." After saying that, Daisy turned and went back into the house, slamming the door shut, leaving my 10-year-old daughter standing alone in the freezing weather. From what Riley told me, I realized this was a cruel act of revenge by my sister and parents. They were getting back at me just because I'd refused to loan Daisy $15,000 to buy a new car. It had happened 2 months ago. One weekend evening, Daisy arrived at my house with my mom and dad at 9 p.m. I clearly remember their faces when they walked in, expectant mixed with calculation. Daisy sat down on the sofa, looked straight into my eyes and said, "Brian, loan me $15,000 so I can buy a new car for work. My old car keeps breaking down, and I can't keep using it anymore." I'd refused that request, not because I didn't have the money, but because I knew Daisy well. She was good at borrowing money, but never paying it back. When I refused, Dad and Mom also spoke up, asking me to help my sister. My mom looked at me with reproachful eyes and said, "Brian, Daisy is your sister. You should help her." But I refused outright. Then I brought up the debt they still owed me. Mom and Dad still owed me $30,000, money they'd borrowed years ago to fix their house. And Daisy still owed me $20,000 from 2017, which was also for a work car, but she hadn't paid back a single penny to this day. When I brought up the old debts, they didn't say anything else. All three of them just looked at each other silently, then quietly left. At the time, I thought they felt ashamed, so they didn't want to continue the argument. I had no idea that they were still holding on to my rejection and had found a way to get revenge by locking my daughter outside their house on Christmas evening, in freezing weather. After what happened, I was determined to get justice for my daughter. They could do whatever they wanted to me, but touching my daughter was unforgivable. While I was still lost in thoughts about the past, Mia's voice cut through the video call screen. "The police and ambulance are here." I quickly said to Mia, "Please ask the medical staff to bring Riley to where I'm working." Mia nodded in agreement, then hung up. 10 minutes later, the ambulance arrived with both Riley and Mia at the hospital, where I was on duty. I ran out to meet them, my heart racing when I saw my daughter lying on the stretcher. Riley had stopped shivering as much as she had when I saw her through the video call screen. Her lips had gotten a little pink again, but her eyes still looked scared. I held her hand tight, trying not to let my tears fall. However, I still had to take her into the emergency room and run tests to assess the extent of her injuries. When I was about to take Riley into the examination room, Mia suddenly stepped closer and said to me in a determined voice, "Give me your car keys." I didn't know what Mia was planning or where she wanted to go, but I didn't ask for details. There was something in Mia's eyes at that moment that told me I shouldn't try to stop her. I quickly took out my keys and gave them to her, then proceeded to examine Riley. I thought Mia would take the car to visit a friend's house or go back home to get more necessary things for Riley. I had no idea that in just 30 minutes, what Mia would do would truly shock me. During the 30 minutes Mia was gone, I focused on examining Riley. Luckily, she only had mild hypothermia and no serious injuries. Her body had warmed up a lot after being covered with blankets and drinking hot water. However, I still needed to keep records to give to the police and CPS. Locking a 10-year-old child outside on Christmas Day was something that couldn't be overlooked. When I just finished examining Riley, and she was resting on the hospital bed, my phone rang. The screen showed my mom's name. Without hesitation, I answered immediately. Without greeting, without waiting for Mom to speak first, I yelled through the phone, "How dare you call me?" Ignoring my question and anger, my mom also yelled from the other end, "You dared to call the police to our house?" Right after Mom finished speaking, Dad's voice rang out from behind, "Give me the phone. Let me talk to Brian." A few seconds later, Dad's voice came through the phone speaker. He yelled at me, his voice full of rage, "Brian, you're my son. You called the police to arrest your own dad?" Hearing those words, I laughed loudly, a laugh full of bitterness. Then I replied in a voice cold as ice, "You're not my dad. My dad died when he didn't stop Daisy from locking my daughter outside on the porch on Christmas Day." My words made Dad even angrier. He gritted his teeth through the phone. "This is all your fault. If you'd loaned Daisy $15,000, none of this would have happened." Hearing what Dad said, the blood in my body boiled. I also gritted my teeth and asked back, "Is that so? So Daisy did lock my kid outside on the porch, right? Dad and Mom didn't intervene, even supported Daisy, right? While you all sat inside with the heater and good food, my daughter had to sit outside in below-zero weather for 2 hours. Am I right?" Right when I finished asking, Dad didn't need to think. He answered immediately in a challenging voice. "That's right. Riley was being punished because of you. Because you're selfish." Right after Dad finished speaking, I gritted my teeth and replied, "The police and CPS won't let you get away with this." Hearing me threaten him, Dad laughed loudly through the phone, his voice full of contempt as he replied, "Brian, you're scaring me so much I want to cry. The police have already arrived. I informed them that your daughter went outside on her own. We asked her to come inside, but she wouldn't listen." Those cruel words made me want to throw my phone at the wall. I almost screamed, "You dared to lie to the police, too? Aren't you afraid of the consequences?" My dad laughed even louder. While laughing, he said to me in a triumphant voice, "Afraid of what? No one's going to believe Riley. She's still just a 10-year-old kid." Hearing this, I was silent for a few seconds. Then I slowly said to him, "Congratulations. I have important news to announce. This call has been recorded." Right when I finished speaking, my dad couldn't laugh anymore. He stammered back, his voice panicked. "Recorded? What do you mean recorded? You dared to record the call?" At that moment, I wished I could witness firsthand the moment my dad went from an arrogant smile to a terrified expression. While I was still enjoying my small victory, I heard Daisy yelling loudly from the other end of the phone. Mia, what are you doing here?" Less than 3 seconds later, Daisy's voice groaned in pain. "Mia, you're crazy. Let me go, let me go." Following that was my mom's voice screaming, "Mia, let go of Daisy. You can't hit Daisy." And then, Mia's voice rang through the phone speaker. Her voice was cold and decisive. "You two had better stay still if you know what's good for you. You're Brian's mom and dad. I'll let Brian deal with you. But Daisy, she dared to lock my daughter outside for 2 hours. I can't let that slide." After Mia's statement, the call was disconnected. Without having to be there at their house, I knew what Mia had done to Daisy. Mia used to box for a while. I knew she was definitely giving Daisy a well-deserved lesson on my behalf. My daughter, Mia had called Riley my daughter when confronting Daisy. Those words really moved me. Even though Riley had mistreated her, even though Riley had kicked her out of the house, Mia still considered Riley like her own child. An hour later, Mia returned to the hospital. She walked straight to Riley's room, sat down by the bed, held her hand, and whispered loving words while Riley slept soundly. I stood at the room's doorway watching that scene. Then I walked closer and asked Mia, my voice soft, "What did you do to Daisy?" Mia looked up at me, surprise flashing across her face. She asked back, "How do you know about that?" I smiled and replied, "When you arrived and taught Daisy a lesson, Dad was calling me." After hearing that, Mia didn't say anything else. She just smiled mysteriously and replied, "I was just practicing a few basic boxing moves that I used to use." Both Mia and I laughed after that statement. Even though we laughed, I still worried. Mia had hit Daisy. It was very possible my wife would face jail time if Daisy were determined to make a big deal out of this. The next morning, around 9 a.m., I was sitting by Riley's bed when the hospital room door suddenly opened. Daisy walked in, followed by my mom and dad. I stood up quickly, shocked to see them, especially Daisy's face. The swelling and bruises were evident on her cheek and around her eyes. I knew exactly who was responsible for those injuries. It was my wife. They came to apologize to Riley. Daisy even knelt on the floor, looked at Riley with pleading eyes, and said, "Riley, I was wrong. Please forgive me." Riley looked at me, then looked at Mia. My daughter just stayed silent, not saying a word. In her eyes, I saw confusion, hurt, and doubt. A few seconds later, I stepped in front of them, blocking their view of my daughter. My voice was cold as ice when I said, "Get out. My daughter doesn't want to see you. And another thing, I'm going to sue." Daisy and my parents seemed shocked by what I said. However, they didn't react as strongly as I had expected. Daisy even said to me in a quiet voice, her head hanging low, "Go ahead and sue me. I accept the punishment." I was shocked by her attitude. This wasn't the arrogant Daisy I used to know. After a few seconds of hesitation, I demanded they leave the room where Riley was resting. They quickly complied, not daring to delay. My parents didn't even look me in the eyes as they walked out. After they left, Riley asked me, her voice still weak, "What happened to Aunt Daisy's face, Dad?" I glanced at Mia, then looked back at Riley. In a gentle voice, I said, "That's Mia's handiwork. Your stepmother protected you by finding Daisy and giving her a beating. If it weren't for Mia, yesterday I wouldn't have known what to do." After hearing me say that, Riley sat quietly for quite a long time. She looked down at her hands, thinking. I knew she was processing the information she'd just received. Almost 5 minutes later, Riley slowly turned to look at me, then at Mia. Her lips moved silently, like she was trying to find the right words. Finally, she said in a small voice, full of shyness, Thank you, Mia." Riley's bashful emotion made me want to laugh, but I held it back. This was the first time she'd voluntarily said thank you to Mia. A few seconds later, Riley seemed to realize she'd said something wrong. She quickly looked at Mia, her eyes teary, and said again, "No, that's not right. It should be thank you, Mom." Riley's statement made Mia burst into tears. She rushed over to hug Riley and sobbed. That was the first time Riley had called Mia Mom. Not by her first name, not stepmother like before, but Mom, sincere and straightforward. I stood there, watching the two most important women in my life hug each other, and my heart was filled with warmth. This may be the moment I'd been waiting for these past 3 years. And that was also when the relationship between Mia and Riley underwent a complete change. Though I was happy that Riley had accepted Mia, I knew everything wasn't over yet. I needed to get to the bottom of Daisy locking up my daughter and get justice for Riley. That afternoon, police and CPS workers came to the hospital to meet Riley and hear her account. Riley recounted in detail how Daisy had dragged her to the porch, what she'd said, and how she'd abandoned her outside. She told the story calmly, every detail clear, even though I knew she was still hurting inside. After Riley finished her story, the police officer nodded and said to me, "What the little girl told us completely matches what your family confessed." Hearing that, I asked in surprise, "Didn't my mom and dad say Riley went outside on her own?" The police officer nodded in confirmation and said, "That's right. They said that last night. But this morning, they came to the station and asked to change their statement. They admitted to everything. What the officer said shocked me. I didn't understand why my parents had suddenly changed their story. After the police and Child Protective Services left, I turned to ask Mia, "How did you get them to tell the truth?" Mia just smiled mysteriously and replied, "That's a secret." Then she turned back to Riley's bedside, hugged her, and read her a book. Even though I was curious about how Mia did it, I didn't ask for more details. I only needed to know one thing. Mia had protected Riley like a real mother. That was enough. 2 weeks later, the family court hearing took place. Since the incident didn't leave serious health consequences, the prosecutor's office decided not to pursue criminal charges against my family. However, they still had to bear civil responsibility for their actions. After the hearing, Daisy and my parents were fined $40,000 in compensation for Riley. Additionally, they were required to accept a restraining order and undergo supervision for an extended period. What was strange was that they never reported that Mia had hit Daisy. I prepared myself for the worst-case scenario, hired a lawyer ready to defend Mia. But that never happened. In fact, 2 days after the hearing, they transferred the money they'd borrowed from me back into my account. $50,000, including all the money my parents and Daisy had owed me for years. I don't know what Mia said to them that Christmas night, but clearly, she'd made them truly afraid, and I had no intention of finding out. Some secrets are better left alone. 2 years have passed since that trial. Riley's now 12 years old. She's taller, more mature, and most importantly, she's entirely accepted Mia as her mother. Every day, I get to witness the two of them laughing, talking, and sharing everything. That's something I once thought would never happen. Mia's pregnant. A baby boy. The baby's already 8 months along. Our whole family is excitedly waiting for the moment the baby arrives. Riley's the most excited. She keeps talking about teaching her little brother to play basketball and protecting him from bullies at school. Seeing my daughter so excited, I know I made the right decision. As for my parents and Daisy, we no longer contact them. They don't call, I don't call either. Sometimes, during late nights, I wonder if I was too cruel to cut off entirely with the people who gave birth to and raised me. But then I remember the image of Riley sitting huddled on the porch that cold Christmas night, and my doubts disappear. Through this story, I have 5 pieces of advice to share with you all. First advice: protect your children at all costs. Children are your flesh and blood, your future. No one, not even your own parents, has the right to hurt your kids. Second advice: money can reveal the true faces of people around you. When I refused to loan Daisy money, I saw the real face of her and my parents. They were willing to take revenge on a 10-year-old child just because they couldn't borrow money. Third advice: never underestimate the love of a stepmother. Mia didn't give birth to Riley, but she loved and protected her as if she were her own child. Maternal love doesn't always come from blood relations. Fourth advice: be prepared to face difficult decisions. Cutting off relationships with my birth family was one of the most painful decisions of my life, but it was necessary to protect my little family. Final advice: life always has unexpected turns. It was my family's cruelty that accidentally helped Riley see Mia's true heart. Sometimes, the worst things bring the most unexpectedly beautiful results. Some people who heard this story advised me to give my parents and Daisy a chance to reconcile. They said my parents are old and won't be around much longer. Someday, when they pass away, I'll regret cutting off relationships with them. What do you think about this advice? Should I give them a chance to repair our relationship? Please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below this story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the following stories. Thank you for following this long story. I hope you have a peaceful and happy day. Give me a like if you want to wish me good things too.